Hi and welcome to the Let's Grow show, but we can't get on stage. Why are we not on stage, Jeff? Okay, we're going to get
The
rid of
intro
that.
was amazing.
Someone's calling me because they think it's helpful. Scott speaking.
Hi Scott, my name is Stephen Koukoulis. I'm a constable at the Bayside Police Station. How are you going today?
I'm all good, thank you.
Just a quick inquiry. I had a report come to me regarding
Okay, we're just having some technical difficulties. So if you're listening in and you can't see us, it's because we seem to be having some difficulties with StreamYard, the broadcasting software that Scott is using for the Let's Grow show. I am Jeff Ghaemaghamy. I am the guest of today's show. And so stay tuned. Maybe message everyone you have in your LinkedIn or your community and say, hey, come and check out this broadcast. It's going to be fascinating.
Not
To be. Okay, Scotty, I think we've got voice. We just don't have picture. Okay, again, just to let you know, everybody, we're having some technical difficulties. I'm actually the guest of today's show, Jeff Ghaemaghamy. Scotty is just having a few technical difficulties with StreamYard, our broadcasting or his broadcasting software. Stay tuned and let the people know in your community, hey, come and check this out. This is going to be incredible. We're going to talk all about empowering people's health, 1 billion people on the planet with AI and DNA combined to help people live healthier longer. Super exciting topic today. And as soon as we get
Jeff.
some...
Yes. It's all happening and nothing's happening. So I do apologize, everybody. I will get this sorted straight away.
Oh, here we go. We can see you now, Scotty.
Thank God. Okay. Goodness me. Wow. What a shocking start. Well, any of you that are online, and I'm going to have to go and log into LinkedIn to see who's there because this system is a little bit flawed in that regard. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Let's Grow show. If you haven't fallen asleep already, this is Jeff Ghaemaghamy, and I'm proud of myself for just being able to say it.
So you can call me Jeff G, Scotty.
Jeffy G. Jeff there we go. Jeff into G, house.
That'll do.
Jeff Ghaemaghamy is a serial entrepreneur. That does not mean he worked for Kellogg. That was me. He has been pretty damn successful and has come out of retirement at the age of 35, is it, Jeff? And has gotten into this really interesting project, actually, that's around the application of AI on a wearable device that will personalize your journey to a healthier you. And I think it's super exciting and worth sharing with you all, those of you who've been patient enough to hang in there while I get my stuff sorted. I did realize, by the way, I will follow my sword and let everyone know that that was a complete user error just now. I've just worked out what was going on. So, more sleep for me, I think. Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks a lot. That's right. The people who are persistent enough to hang in there, they're the ones who are going to get the show, and all the replays, I'm sure, will enjoy the
hopefully I can edit the replays. So, Jeff, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself firstly, and then this project?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, thanks so much for having me on your incredible broadcast. I know that it's been getting a growing following, and I'm really pleased to be here. And
not after today.
You've asked me to come and share a bit. So listen, I'll give you a bit of my background. I grew up in the US. I've been living in New Zealand, Aotearoa, for the last 40 plus years. I came out to New Zealand as a student. My mother married a Kiwi in a second marriage, and let's just say that I was a bit of a rebel. I possibly still am a bit of a rebel. I dropped out of school, got a good job washing dishes in a restaurant, in a Pizza Hut, actually, back in the mid 80s and early to mid 80s. And let's just say they saw some incredible ability in my dishwashing skills, Scotty, and they they promoted me into their management system, and I worked in the hospital. Basically, they were desperate for full-time staff. I worked in the hospitality industry for about 6-7 years. When I left in '89, I was running 5 restaurants, about a $30 million turnover, 300 staff. Got to hire and fire that, loving what I was doing. But I had I made a cost saving for at the time. It was a $3 million cost saving, probably inflation adjusted around $10 million in today's terms per annum. And I got a $500 bonus. And that really, I guess I felt like I was the oven. I discovered in a flash of the obvious that I was a tool to make that company money. Pepsi, who owned Pizza Hut and KFC and Starbucks. And so that sort of led me into more my entrepreneurial journey. Sometimes a bad thing that happens turns into the best thing ever, and that was certainly in my situation. So that's a bit. I'm not sure how deep you want me to go. I can, we could start back at age 7 if you want, but
Yeah, I don't want to traumatize anyone, but I think Jeff and I met through a kind of a networking group. I don't really want to call it that. It's a bit more than that. It's a bit of a family of entrepreneurs, really. And we meet every week, and it's really simple format. And Jeff and I met through that network, and in fact, that network has brought a lot of people together. People who I already knew as well, who have joined that. So it's been really cool, and I've been fascinated by the work that Jeff and the team are doing around this particular technology, particularly when I think about, I'm heavily opinionated around AI and its application, but more opinionated about people's hopes and dreams for AI. But when I think about a perfect application, it's a learning application. And if we can learn more about ourselves through wearable tech that's using AI, I think that's phenomenal. And I think it's a great application because that is the one instance in that we're going to be looking back to go forward. And it takes away any weakness of AI, which is to anticipate what might be, which it can't do. But what it can do and does do really well is report on what's happened and what ought to happen as a result to correct that happening or happenstance. So yeah, do you want to tell us a bit more about that, Jeff? That's cool.
Well, let me continue the journey. So around that same time, when I left Pepsi, I resigned. My father, who was a physician and surgeon, died suddenly of a heart attack at age 54, and that really jarred me. It really caused me to evaluate my life, what was important. How could this happen to someone who'd saved thousands of people's lives? And that sparked my interest, and then my passion, and then my obsession with health, wellness, and nutrition. And we managed to partner, this is going back 30 plus years ago, with one of the world's most successful health and wellness brands. We helped to establish their brand here in the Pacific region, in Australia, New Zealand, but in Southeast Asia. And over the last 30 or so years, we've turned over hundreds of millions of dollars. So we built a relatively successful business. My wife likes to say we do workshops. I do the work and she shops. Luckily, though, Scotty, and for the audience, she shops for houses, not handbags. She's a bit of a hunter, and she built up a $20 million property portfolio in a matter of a couple of years.
Nice.
And so we retired, and we've been retired for the last 10 or so years until I got the phone call. And I'm not sure how many of you have had the phone call before, but I got a phone call from this brand, NSE, the company that we helped establish here down in the Pacific region. And they asked me to be part of this project, Project Helix. And I'm part of a core group of people that are helping to roll this out around the world. And it's kind of exciting. NSE, they're a publicly traded company on New York Stock Exchange. They traded about $2 billion currently of annual revenue. 75 scientists in-house, 35 PhDs in-house. They're just doing some phenomenal stuff in nutraceuticals and health, wellness, anti-aging. And when I got on the phone, they said, "Listen, we're going to become a tech company." And I'm like, "A tech company? What are you guys talking about? You guys make fantastic, clinically proven, I think over 2,000 clinical studies done on their product lines. Like, this is amazing stuff. What are you talking about, tech company?" And so they said, "Listen, come on up to the US and we'd like to show you what we're up to." And so he flew up there, and my mind, Scotty, my mind was blown. Like, they were listening. They literally had a 1.2 billion dollar budget, and they were investing in developing an app. The app that they're developing, this has been a 5-year project, is powered by AI. And what they're going to do is they're going to be able to, kind of like Noom or MyFitnessPal, and I use Noom as an example because they almost acquired Noom in an acquisition. The deal didn't go through, but that gives you an idea of the type of thing they're going to do. That consumers will be able to download this app for free. They'll be able to order a DNA assessment, a microbiome assessment to measure their gut health. They'll be able to attach wearable tech. So if they have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, if they have a Garmin or an Oura Ring or the new Samsung Galaxy Ring coming out in a couple months' time, to measure their sleep, their steps, their stress. New tech coming out soon will even be able to measure blood sugar biometrically from the skin. Really cool tech. And then they had a whole number of assessments around mental wellness and physical wellness, your cognition, your stress and anxiety, through to, how are your joints and how's your weight and how's your energy levels. And then they've got this cool piece of tech that I'm particularly excited about. This, we've nicknamed it the Fat Zapper because it basically breaks down fat and cellulite. It's great for before and after, muscle enhancement and things. But what this does is they built little sensors into these little peanut-shaped nodes, and they can map inside your body. And what they're going to create, literally, like, this is kind of a Star Trek, but literally, they're going to create a digital twin. Here is you today, and here is you optimized. And so, using a powerful AI algorithm, they're partnered with some of the biggest AI vendors in the world, companies like Anthropic, which Amazon just bought for $4 billion. Companies like Full Power AI, which is like the Rolls Royce of AI companies in the world today. The guys who are behind ChatGPT, the OpenAI guys, Core AI, and a number of other AI companies. Partner with Infosys, partner with Amazon and AWS. They really put together an ecosystem of some of the top AI and tech companies in the world to really potentially impact 1 billion people on the planet. And the data that's collected and secure, protected by HIPAA laws. So just like when you go and give blood for your doctor to analyze, it's protected privacy. For the first time ever, people will be able to look into the future. And this is, maybe a bit contrary to what you just said before, Scotty, but we can look into the future and look at someone's DNA, which you inherit from your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. But we can look into and see, are there any gene mutations? Can we predict possibly what health obstacles you may have coming in the future? And then using epigenetic science, can we create protocols of what foods to eat, what foods to avoid? So the app literally on a daily basis will give you menus, and here are the foods best for you. Here's the exercises best for you. Even what we think, here are the thoughts that are best for you to help you live your best life. And then we'll be able to create also, and this is kind of what I'm excited about, being in the health nutrition world for the last 30 years, is customized nutrition and little sachet that's designed specifically bespoke for each individual consumer. So we're not talking about, one size fits all. We're talking about, what deficiencies do I have? What deficiencies do you have? Looking into the future of your DNA, the software that makes you, you and me, what potential outcomes could there be that are not what we want? And can we use epigenetic science to create formulas that may allow us to kind of step aside, or sidestep those negative outcomes and live healthier, longer, happier lives. And so I'm kind of excited about this, and I could talk about it for hours. We don't have that much time, but wow, it's just a game changer.
We do have Kenny waiting in the wings there to come up on stage. And Kenny spends his day in a lab. So are you going to have some scientific questions for us, Kenny?
Oh,
I might
love
bring you
it.
up on stage to have a chat. Are you good to play your video, or are you in the nightgown with a cigar? Where are you at? I got you. Oh, wait, intro.
What intro?
Oh, you didn't hear it. Oh, Kenny,
No.
it was just for you too.
There you
Okay.
go. Jeff is having
Okay.
fun here.
Yeah. Here's Scott with technology today. Killing it. Absolutely crushing it. Kenny. Kenny has a face.
Yes,
We
I
can't
do.
show you his name because he's a scientist. What's going on, Kenny?
Well, I'm trying to enjoy today's topic of discussion. While you
Cool.
Hi,
What
Kenny.
do you find?
Nice to meet you, Kenny.
Nice to meet you. I'm from Sugar Land, Texas, just southwest of Houston.
Okay. Fantastic. Is there any particular questions you have, or any thoughts on what I've shared so far?
None at the moment. I'm still trying to digest all that you're telling us.
Okay. All right. So,
Cool, Kenny.
you know, in a nutshell, could we use AI, you know, empowering individuals to live healthier longer? That's really the game plan. And maybe what I might have, I got this little, maybe if I could share my screen for a
I
second.
believe you can.
I've got a little video that you might find interesting.
Oh, cool.
This is an example of what we're about to do. Let's see here, share screen. Let's see if I can find what I want to share. Here we go. Give me a second here. This is like a little 30-second clip, but I think you'll find it as a concept
Cool. We get some
of
questions
what
coming in too.
we're trying to do here. So,
Cool.
okay, here we go.
Oh, let me put it up on stage.
Healthcare will undergo dramatic transformations. Medicine will become more precise. Value will shape care delivery. Patients will become empowered consumers. And digitalization will transform every facet of healthcare. Patients will have a digital twin, a customized computational model of themselves, enabling Dr. Clive to anticipate illness, guide therapy options, and predict outcomes of procedures. Expanding precision medicine will enable.
So this is a bit of a concept, if you like. Oops,
Nice.
we're done here. Let me see if I can stop share here. Oh, and have I stopped share?
You have indeed.
Okay, there we go. Perfect.
You have indeed.
So,
That's cool. Now we have a question from the wonderful Lexi, which I'd love to put on stage, but I can't. So I'm going to read it. I can't, and I don't know why LinkedIn isn't playing. It's bad enough that LinkedIn is LinkedIn, but let alone now it's interfering with other applications. It's great. So Lexi's question is, what if we use epigenetic science with AI tools to foreshadow your well-being growth, but the map we planned out doesn't align to the plan like we expected when we put action to the wellness plan generated by AI? I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Let me see if I can put it. Let me see if I can copy and paste that so you can read it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can understand. If I'll repeat that back, and just please correct me if I've got the wrong impression of your question, Lexi. So epigenetics. Let me first, maybe for the audience, explain what epigenetics is, because everyone may not be aware of what epigenetics is. So, firstly, epigenetics is not altering or splicing or anything to do with our genetics. Personally, I'm against genetic modification, and so is the brand I'm aligned to. Epigenetics is the science of gene expression. And if you haven't investigated it, go and Google it, go and ChatGPT it, go and Perplexity it. I think you'll find it fascinating. To make epigenetics very simple, okay, back when the human genome was first completed, scientists, basically said that you genetically inherited, your predispositions. So you go to the doctor, and they would say, is there cancer in the family? Is there diabetes in the family? Is there heart disease in the family? Mental wellness challenges in the family. They'd ask you these questions to see if you were going to, may have inherited particular diseases they're going to watch for. And then some scientists in Sweden actually asked a fantastic question. If our genes are preset, if our genetic destiny is preset, what about identical twins? Identical twins have exactly the same DNA, but one may have a different allergy than the other. One might have different eyesight. One may have different lines and wrinkles or graying of the hair. One may get a cancer that the other does not get. And so what they discovered, and this is a little bit oversimplified, so for Kenny, the scientist, you'd be like, this is a little bit simplified, but just for explanation purposes, think of that our genes, many of them, have the ability to turn on and turn off like a switch. And so if you came to my home, we've got 2 boxer dogs. We're boxer dog crazy people. And if you're allergic to dogs, your genes might turn on your immune system and you start getting scratchy eyes, sneezing, itchy, an allergic reaction. When the dogs leave or you leave, the switch would turn off again. That's epigenetics. Or when you go in the sun, the sun, the UV hits your skin, it activates your melanocytes, which control the pigmentation or the tan we get, and it might turn on the pigmentation. You start to get darker skin, that tan that we all like. When you're out of the sun in the wintertime, it turns off again. That's epigenetics. I've got a few gray hairs, a few still the original color. Why is one hair gray and one not? The genes got turned off. What if we could turn them back on again using plant-based ingredients? So I think to answer your questions,
I wouldn't have to shave my head then.
I think to answer your question, Lexi, when you eat an apple, it affects your genes. If you smoked a cigarette, it affects your genes. Scientists have also discovered that what you think controls your genes. And so thinking a positive or negative thought. And so using AI and these powerful algorithms, we can look at human biology using powerful algorithms to see what potential health outcome is not what we want in the future, and can we introduce plant-based nutrition, not a pharmaceutical, not a synthetic, not a drug, to help those genes behave in a more youthful way, or reset your gene expression to behave the way it should be behaving. So I hope that answers your question. But nothing that will be created will be something that can be harmful or damaging.
And I'd like to share a personal story and see if anyone can relate to this. But before I do, for whatever reason, LinkedIn doesn't want to play as effectively with StreamYard today. So the time travel API that's required to go back in time to LinkedIn's technology has failed us this morning. But if you are on LinkedIn, can you just let me know in a comment? I've got 2 computers running here. I do try to stay on top of stuff, but it's hard for me to see who's there. And comments from LinkedIn are not coming up in the StreamYard feed at the moment, so I will have to copy and paste them. But if you can let me know you're here, that would be cool and helpful, actually. But personal story. So in around mid-March, my cousin, who's a year older than me, had a heart attack. Now, my cousin's symptoms were very similar to my father's, who has had heart attacks as a hobby for the last sort of 7 years or so, in that cholesterol levels were normal, but there were mammoth blockages in the heart. So I went and got a calcium score, just as a preventative thing. It wasn't good. It was not good. So now I'm with the cardiologist and all that sort of stuff, but I'm lucky. Sorry, cousin Pat, but I'm lucky that my cousin had a heart attack because it triggered me to go, hang on a minute. That's exactly like my father. I need to go and get checked out because if that hadn't have happened, my cardiologist told me that I would have a heart attack within 5 years if I didn't get my cholesterol below normal. So in my case, my cholesterol level needs to be below 3, right? So it's, yeah, I mean, now I'm in treatment for that. I'm grateful for that. But I mean, how could this kind of technology preempt that sort of thing, given that that's obviously a genetic predisposition that I was carrying around?
So that's exactly what it is. So if you start to think about our DNA, so you could think of your DNA like the hard drive of your computer, and you could think of the genes as the software. And so our genes are unique. And a fun way to kind of think about this is there's 26 letters in the English alphabet, and those 26 letters in different combinations in English can make up about 500,000 different words without the plurals and things. Our DNA, our genes, we have approximately 25,000. And those 25,000 genes in different combinations make you and make me. So we're all extremely unique. And those genetic, software, if you like, of our bodies, as we inherit from our grandparents, our great grandparents, our grandparents, our parents, and eventually to us, there can be mutations that happen. If you haven't had a genetic test and had the ability to look at those, then how would you know if you have, potentially something in your future? And so the hope is, and this is not going to replace medicine. This is not designed in any way, shape, or form to replace a doctor, or but maybe instead to empower individuals with the knowledge of where they're at. They can share this data with their healthcare professional or doctor if they choose to really kind of have an idea of what could happen in the future and what could we do to help potentially prevent it. And again, this is not just taking, pop another pill. Well, what foods can you eat that are best suited to your genetics? What foods should you maybe avoid for your genetics? In your case, Scotty, there's a lot of things happening with calcium scores and, predispositions to heart disease, inflammation. We have obviously cholesterol. Our liver creates cholesterol. Everyone thinks cholesterol is a bad thing. Cholesterol is a good thing. Our body produces cholesterol to line our arteries and keep them nice and smooth so the blood can flow. What causes that calcium buildup? What causes that cholesterol to kind of become sticky, kind of blister, if you like, harden in some cases, is inflammation. Okay. And there's lots of things you can do with that. But if you knew 5 or 10 or 20 years ago, this is something that I was predisposed to, and we're given some protocols, some, here are the foods and here's the different things you could take. You could have made different choices, which should have meant that today getting a calcium score might have been totally in the parameters of where you should be, if that makes sense. And so it's really about empowering people. We're not here to treat or diagnose disease, but help to really empower people with the knowledge about themselves so they can live their best life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. That sounds really cool. And we've got a couple of questions here. I've had to do the whole copy paste thing. So big shout out to LinkedIn again. I missed the 80s. Glad you're there. Samar has a couple of questions for us. So I'm just going to throw them up on screen real quick. Talking to 2 million Americans, starting to sound like one. So question number 1, as mentioned, that this would be free for users. Is that right? There has been a lot of computational power required to be able to do everything Jeff mentioned so far. How is it feasible for the company to offer it for free to users, or should I ask, what will they get out of it?
Okay.
Did you say free? I don't
Is
recall you
it Samal? Did I pronounce the name correct? Is that right?
Yes, I'm going to say Samar.
Okay. I apologize if we have not pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, I apologize on Jeff's behalf.
The app is free to download. When someone orders a DNA assessment, they will pay, and the pricing's not been released. This will all be revealed and released in 2025 towards the end, about maybe a little over a year from now. They might pay $199 for a DNA test. Think of it similar to getting Ancestry.com. Okay, a little test kit will turn up in your door.
Sure.
You'll do a little swab of saliva, and from that they can measure your DNA. Okay. Similarly, you can measure DNA. You can measure your microbiome also from saliva, or you could give a feces sample. You can choose one of those 2 different options. And the great thing about PCR testing today is they can measure virtually everything you can measure in the blood, they can measure in saliva. And so without being invasive to have to take blood and do blood work to get these results, you can do it through saliva testing. And so when someone wants a DNA assessment or a microbiome assessment, or perhaps they don't have an Aura ring or a Samsung ring, a watch, or a Apple Watch, etc., they'll be able to order it through the site, through the app. That'll be monetized. If they want personalized nutrition, that will be monetized. So they'll, depending on what they want. The other thing that's really interesting, and I'll just share while we're talking about that, is that on a quarterly basis, we'll be able to send a little test kit out to the consumer, and they can measure every quarter using saliva samples again. And perhaps maybe this packet initially is like 7 little tablets here, designed for each individual. But maybe after 6 or 12 months, you're eating better, you lost a few kg of weight, you're sleeping better, you reduce stress. Maybe you just need 3 or 4 of those capsules. And so it's really about guiding people to have the right behaviors, the right diet and nutrition, not just about selling pills. And I love the integrity of that. So I hope that answers your question. It does take a lot of computational power, absolutely. And we're partnered directly with AWS and Amazon, which are really providing the data lake and the engine behind all this. Fantastic question. I really appreciate it. Do you want to read these out, Scotty? Oh, you've gone mute, Scotty.
Pardon me. What timeline, question number 2 from Samar is, what timeline are we looking at to get this out to public? Whether as a beta test or MVP?
Yeah, so we will look to release this approximately a year from now. So actually the technology is in place today, and it's ever increasingly, almost exponentially, the new tech and with the way AI is growing is there are improvements being made all the time. Mm-hmm. What they're really doing right now, the delay, if any delay there is in regulatory. So, in the United States, we have the FDA. In Australia, we have the TGA. In Europe, they have different, bodies that monitor what you can and can't do nutritionally, what your labeling is, claims, etc. In the past, we could take a product and say, okay, here's this product, here's our ingredients, here's the claims we'd like to make, here's a clinical verification of those claims, and they'd approve us, and you pay a fee, $10,000 or $20,000, whatever it might be, and you're approved to sell that product. Today, we're going to say to these regulatory bodies, well, actually, we don't have a one formula. We're going to make a personalized packet for each individual person. So that they're going, you're going to do what? They're like, they've never seen this before because it's never been done. And so right now they're just going through country by country, market by market with the regulatory to make sure that we meet all the laws and requirements for each market uniquely to what they allow. Great question.
Yeah,
so you can expect this into the latter part of 25 and in a full blown way.
I've got a question. I wonder, at the moment, just to share a personal, and this is getting back to the Let's Grow show and what we've talked about a lot around positioning and perception we've spoken about the last couple of weeks. I think it was around 8 years ago I created my first model of consciousness for AI. And I've been super loath to talk about what I can bring to AI or what our company can bring to AI because every man and his chimpanzee is an AI expert at the moment. How are you guys going to cut through the clutter of, let's call them, BS copy-paste solutions repackaged out there to give it more credibility than the showering we're getting of AI applications at the moment?
Yeah, great question. So in the world, and maybe many of the audience here have read the book or listened to the audiobook, Blue Ocean Strategy, okay? So today in marketing, we call it Red Ocean, and Red Ocean is every company saying they make the best of everything, right? In our industry, in the health nutrition industry, we've got a collagen, and so we say here's our collagen, and 65% increase in Pro Collagen 1 and 3 within 8 weeks, so your money back, etc. Here's clinically verified data, etc. Another brand comes and goes, no, our collagen's better, or we make a product for the gut microbiome and someone else goes, no, our product is better. Or, we make a product for inflammation or for heart health or an antioxidant or a jungle juice. I've yet to, every company out there, Scotty, says we make the best. I've yet to meet the company that says, hi, we make the worst shit, right?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Everybody says they make the best. So Blue Ocean strategy is differentiating yourself in such a vast way that no competitor can follow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the world of health and nutrition, there's many barriers to entry for what we've done. Firstly, this has been a 5-year project. There are over 700 engineers full-time on this project for the last couple of years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's 75 in-house scientists and 35 PhDs full on in this project. We have acquired a company called LifeGen Technologies about 12 years ago that has an algorithm, a unique patented algorithm to identify which genes are responsible for what in the body. So when I talk about epigenetics, you have to ask yourself, well, when you look at a product, I don't know, you go down there and look at your I don't know, multi-mineral supplement or something, and you say, okay, why does that product have this formula? I'm going to tell you right now, today, every brand on the planet, okay, including our brand previously, was a guess.
Mm-hmm.
We think, based on the Harvard Heart study with 38,000 nurses, or based on this study of this ingredient, or based on that study, but no one knows, putting all those ingredients together, what quantities to use, synergistically, how they may affect each other to get the perfect formula. And then you're making a one-size-fits-all. For the first time ever with this LifeGen technology algorithm, we can identify, using gene chip technology, we can literally identify what formulas. Think of it, maybe a simple way for the audience to think about this is think about baking a cake.
Yep.
Okay. If I told you all the ingredients for a cake, you need some eggs, you need some cocoa, you need some flour, gluten-free, of course, rice flour. You need some, what did I say? Milk. You need, cocoa, a pan, an oven to this temperature. Here's the recipe, some butter, some oil, whatever else. So if I gave you all the ingredients, but no recipe, and you put, I think you should have more eggs, or we should put more milk in it, or I really like, let's put some, and so, or the wrong temperature even. If you alter any of those ingredients in the wrong ratio, you might end up with soup or a brick. You might end up with something that totally tastes different.
Sure.
So it's not even the ingredients that go into products that define its effectiveness. It's the synergistic effect, the cofactor functions, etc., that make those products synergistically work together. And so for the first time ever, what no other company has today is an algorithm to identify which ingredients do what, using gene chip technology to be able to monitor and see, and so LifeGen, this company, they had gene samples of 20-year-olds, and these people are now in their 50s. We can now give this little group, this test group, products and see, are their genes behaving like the genetic profile epigenetically they were when they were in their 20s again. For another company to do this, legitimately do this, they've got to start with 20-year-olds today and wait 30 years to then look back doing gene testing. So it's very difficult to duplicate. But to your question, Scotty, there will be companies out there that say, yeah, we do the same thing. Will they be able to do the same thing? The answer is no. And I think that by the time the industry of the health nutrition companies out there existing cotton on to what we're about to release, by the time they put together a scientific group, by the time they put together the wherewithal with respect to having AI vendors to partner with them, by the time they, even if they could have an algorithm to identify gene and genetic testing of formulas, it's literally a 7 to 10 year project, and they'd have to have $1 billion upfront to do it.
Sure.
But it's very difficult to mimic or or have the same ability that we're going to have in the marketplace.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess my question is, let's just get that proposition right, Jeff. Is that Is that right?
So sorry, sorry, I didn't understand. Was that a question?
So if we get this proposition right here, like it's so recently had an experience with one of our fellow network members. Are we even allowed to say the name of the network, or is it secret squirrel stuff? I don't really know. A guy called Scotty Baker who came out with an AI solution around social posting and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And he had what I would call a play to pay kind of interaction, which I thought was amazing. I knew that once I'd played with this thing with him online, that this was different. I knew this was different. I knew that AI could generate lots of material from things from my inputs. I got that. But what he was able to do was pull out the nuance of the things I say and the way I say them in that content generation. And I'm like, done. So I got to experience that. I know I can get tested for free, but how can I get to experience what's my play here? How are we going to get consumers engaged early in the vine to go, oh shit, this is something else. This is really something else.
Sorry, so let me figure out your
So for someone
I'm
like
trying to
me,
figure out your question. So are you asking how will consumers find out about this?
how will they experience it or sample an experience of it? Because for someone like me, I didn't get kicked out of science, but I probably should have. It's not something I've ever been, drawn to. So a lot of this stuff is interesting to me from a health perspective, but it's not something I'm going to go deep on in terms of knowledge. But so some idiot like me, who is educated but not in this way, will need to experience this as being something entirely different than an Apple Watch that gives me the wrong heart rate or that kind of stuff. How are you guys planning to have people see, feel, touch it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the app will be free to download. And this is a bit of my imagination. So let me share with you maybe what it might look like, right? A consumer downloads the app for free. The app will literally start talking to Mia, her name is, my intelligent assistant, will start talking to them. Hi, Scotty. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Mary. Hi, John. Would you like to get started? Would you like to do a cognitive quiz? Would you like to do an IQ test? Would you like to, do a personality quiz? Let's talk about your, a stress test, an anxiety test. Do you have an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or a Garmin? Would you like to attach it to the app now? And it'll then interact. Okay, and so there'll be a number of elements that are free that give people kind of a feel for the app. Where it starts becoming monetized is where the app will start asking, would you like a DNA assessment so we can look at have a more complete profile on you?
Sure.
Would you like a microbiome? And I'll tell you, microbiome is the easiest. Everyone is fat. The thing that can I say this on your show? The thing that everyone is fascinated by, but no one wants to talk about are their poos, right? And so microbiome science has gone in leaps and bounds. And it's ironic because the ancient Egyptians, the Greeks were all about microbiome and gut health. And we kind of forgot about it for a couple thousand years. And now it's like, oh my God, gut health is everything. But the connection between your microbiome and mental wellness, unbelievable. The connection between your healthy, balanced microbiome and heart disease, cancer, autoimmune disorders. There's just a long list of things that are 100% related to microbiome and leaky gut. And so, when people start to interact and having a result in one area, then they build trust, and they will go on to others. Not everyone has to get a DNA assessment if they don't want to, but it's really interesting. PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, consulting arm, predicted that 50% of the world population will have a DNA assessment or test done in the next 15 years. And it'll either be through your doctor or healthcare professional, through an ancestry type thing because you're fascinated about your background, your history, or the type of thing we're doing here. And so it's definitely become mainstay. It's come down from sort of $20,000, $10,000 for a DNA test down to a couple hundred at something that's affordable for everybody.
Yeah,
And
cool.
and I think it's going to be it's going to be huge. And it's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Sure, sure. And I think, having had that recent personal experience, I can absolutely see the use case. I mean, for me, I had a suspicion that, these things come down through the generations, and unfortunately for my little sister, she has inherited the cancer gene, and she's had both the brain tumor and breast cancer, as has my mother had breast cancer, and my aunties, and blah blah blah. So I kind of had a hunch that I would get dad's. Well, I got dad's heart condition, but I had a hunch that that would be the case. I also got his chronically inappropriate sense of humour, which is good. But I think it'd take more bucket loads of that than the heart thing. But yeah, I mean, certainly that was in my mind that was possible. But then, getting tested for it, which only occurred because of some extraneous circumstances, I suppose. And now I've got a way of getting out ahead of it. And, that is something that's been on my mind for a long time. I've watched my father have so many strokes and heart attacks. And the other thing he's got too is macular degeneration. He lost his sight, about 7 or 8 years ago now, in about 3 months. So I get tested for that regularly. But only on the basis of his condition. And I don't know what the genetic probability of my eye health deteriorating is.
Sure.
And certainly my optometrist is not interested in keeping me up to date with where I'm at, even though I go
Well,
in.
Scotty, talk to me offline. I've got something I can sort you out, because you can prevent, particularly macular degeneration is relatively simple to help prevent with nutrition, things like lutein and different micro and macronutrients that can help support eye health in the macula.
Cool.
So, and so there are lots of things you can do nutritionally. What I'd like to say, and I guess maybe the audience,
I just wanted to finish that before
Sure,
you get into that. I also wanted to just to back that up, guys, as a combination, just so you can see the similarities, because you can't see the potentiality of my of macular degeneration taking hold of me. But this is relatable. So some months after being diagnosed, he had to wear a visually impaired badge, and he convinced a guy at the Australian Open that he'd been sacked from an umpire's job that day and got free Heineken all afternoon. Anyway, so therein lies the chronically inappropriate sense of humour.
You told me to be prepared for kind of a lateral conversation today, Scotty, but I wasn't prepared for this.
Have we met?
So listen, what I was going to share is that for the audience, and is that our bodies are kind of miracles. When you think about it, our DNA, our software can put us back together again. When you cut your finger or break a bone, or if your body has the right building blocks, the micro and macronutrients, it can literally go and repair itself. The doctor might set the bone again in the right direction, but your body knows how to go back and rebuild itself. And so if you give your body all the optimal nutrients for you based on your genetics, and this is the question really, could your body live healthier longer? If we help to, give ingredients that help keep your stem cells alive and kicking longer, can your body regenerate itself for longer? That's what's called youth, right? If we help your telomeres, right? The little caps, like the caps on the ends of your shoelaces, the little telomeres that sit at the ends of your chromosome in your DNA. Every time your DNA replicates, about every 90 days for most cells in the body, those telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter, like the little ends of your shoelace, little plastic cap on the end of your shoelace getting shorter and shorter. And, can we help preserve that? Many scientists will tell you that telomere science is the fountain of youth. And so, can we can we help people? And this is what, and to be honest, you know, NSE believe that they can disrupt this $2 trillion health, wellness, and even the beauty industry, anti-aging industry. Can we disrupt it for the first time ever? This industry has never been disrupted. There's lots of products out there, and there's lots of good products out there. There's lots of not so good products out there that aren't what they are on the label, you know. But can we disrupt it and do something that gives personalized nutrition, personalized consultation in a holistic way, right? Not just taking a pill, but what exercise, what foods to eat, what, you know, all they're going to have an ecosystem within this, kind of like an app store. If the app, you know, and the AI is seeing that you're not sleeping, your sleep rhythms aren't right, or your stress is, you know, they can recommend apps like Sleep.io or Calm.io. So we can really help people in a holistic way. And what really motivates me personally is not around money, although don't get me wrong, let's tell the universe, let's build a multi-billion dollar business. But what motivates me is how could we impact 1 billion people on the planet? And what will my great grandkids say my life was about? Do we get to be involved in something that can actually make a massive difference on the planet? And so this is what motivates me anyway. So,
and I'd like to just a couple things there. I'll lead with an observation and then maybe an analogy. So the observation is that whilst I've known Jeff for a little while, and he's been a very valuable connection and a friend as well. So that's been great. I've never asked Jeff what his age was because I just have this hunch that if he's come out of retirement and he looks younger than me, that I'm going to feel really bad about myself. So we've skipped that one. But just to analogize from my tiny little mind.
You told everyone I was 35. You know, I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, you go with that. That's right. And don't tell your wife you've changed your Bumble
my son's 35. I got a daughter 34. My youngest is 32. So a couple of grandkids.
I went into a Foot Locker the other day and I admitted to the girl that I had this immature obsession with Nike Air Force Ones, and I was a very immature 53, and she responded with, "My father's 53." So she lived somehow. I don't know how she lived, but she made it. She survived that. So, but the little tiny little minded analogy that I have is that, as a lot of you guys listening know, and if you don't, I'm an avid baseball player, fan, follower, spiritual connector with baseball. There's an excellent documentary. It's called Fastball, and what was really fascinating about that is they talk about the physics and the improvement of human performance over time. And one of the key things out of that documentary that they mentioned is that if you took Jesse Owens and put him in a sprint today, that he would get beaten by high school runners. Thanks, Shadows. And yet with baseball, the propulsion of a baseball to exceed a particular velocity has been relatively static, with one exception. So if you threw a ball faster than 100 miles per hour, which is what, circa, you're probably better at doing these conversions, Jeff, circa 170 kilometers an hour, back 100 years ago, you were likely on your own. Now, the truth stands that the fastest pitch ever thrown was 108 miles an hour, and that was back in the 80s, so it was a while ago now. But what I will say is that the amount of work that's gone into biomechanics in that sport has been enormous. So there's no longer one singular guy or two guys that can throw more than 100 miles an hour. There are scores of players that can throw over 100 miles an hour. So that finessing, that tinkering biomechanically has made a monstrous difference to the output and performance of these guys. And that's kind of how I'm viewing this tool, right? The more attention we play to the finer points of what we're putting into our bodies, how we're treating our bodies, and how we're adjusting to what our bodies need, which is very similar to throwing style. The things that they change in pitching is like literally release angles and like tiny little infinitesimally small details. And you know, you can see the output of that in that performance. I think that's a really good analogy, and if you use it, you're paying royalty. No, I'm kidding. So I think for everybody, that's how I'm viewing this, and I'll stand to be corrected, Jeff, if that's a poor analogy.
No, I think it is a great analogy. And so how can we help optimize all these little things? Can we help modify behavior, 1 degree at a time, you know,
Hmm.
using drip education and gamification? Can we help incentivize people to know where they're at today? And that's really what getting a DNA assessment or microbiome assessment is all about, knowing today, where am I at? Just like when
Yep.
you got your calcium score, here's where I am today. Here's my cholesterol. Here's my blood pressure. Here's my, my eyesight. When you know where you're at, then you can say, now, how can I get to where I want to be? And can we guide people using nutrition, uh, and supplementation, as well as a great diet, to do that? Today, and this could be a long conversation. Now, I'm going to have to go shortly because I'm actually literally I'm on a plane soon to Manila. I'm going to speak to a leadership conference over there, and then I'm off to Jakarta to do the same. But today we are in the Western world the most overfed and undernourished people on the planet.
Hmm.
We're eating greater number of calories than we've ever eaten in our history of humanity per person. Yet there's less of the right nutrients in those foods. Our growing technologies, our depleted soils, green picking, pesticides, herbicides. There's been a disruption in our food chain, and and I'm sure you've all done this. You grow a tomato or a tomato wherever you're from in the world, from your garden. Tastes very different than the one you buy in the supermarket, right? You taste the mandarin or the, from your little tree in your backyard. It's very different taste than the one you might get from the supermarket. And so today,
can I just
our food chain is disrupted, and
Mm.
and the importance, and I cannot emphasize this enough, the importance of having the right micro and macronutrients from our foods and or supplementation today is absolutely vital. And another topic, and maybe you can say your comment. I want to come back to this, swing back around it. Is that I
No,
think
keep
that
going.
the world is woken up, that, and I think we'll look back in 100 years or 200 years and go, gosh, look what they were doing back in the 20th century. Is that pharmaceuticals, synthetic pharmaceuticals, is not necessarily the answer. We have greater knowledge, greater technology, more clinical research has been published in scientific journals in the last 10 years than the previous 100 years combined.
Mm-hmm.
We have greater amount of knowledge, but are we seeing any significant decrease in heart disease? Are we seeing decreases in cancer, in diabetes, in obesity, in mental wellness, in autoimmune disorders? And we can go on and on and on. And I think that people can concur that we aren't seeing massive decreases. We're seeing people living longer, but are they living healthier? And what we're all about, Scotty, and this is something I'm so passionate about, is we all enter the world in diapers, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to leave the world in diapers. What if we could live life full on and pop out? Like that, if you've seen the documentary Blue Zones on Netflix, right? How can you live to 103 climbing a tree? How can you live life full on and pop out, not get to your 50s and your 60s and think you expect deterioration? I expect macular degeneration. I expect I'm not going to have energy the same. I expect I'm, not going to perform the same in the bedroom. I expect I'm going to, have, and to our 60s and our 70s and fade out. No one wants to fade out. We want to pop out. And so can we be part of the solution to empower people with the knowledge of where are you today? Where do you want to be? What's your digital twin? What's your optimal you? And then how can we guide people to have that, those behaviors, that lifestyle changes, and provide them the right micro and macronutrients that they may be deficient in. And over time, hopefully they get that right stuff from their foods. They don't need to take sachets of supplements. But today it's increasingly difficult to get all that right stuff from our foods, particularly if you're eating from a supermarket. If you're growing in your own garden, congratulations. That's what we all need to be doing. But hard to know what to take. What do you need for your body, for your genetics to optimize you? And that's what we're all
Yeah.
about. So
And just so everyone's clear, Jeff is, saying this with the working understanding that I am a work in progress myself. So I hope he's not taking me on as a project. I know he's ambitious, but the so I just want to say that without question, guys, we're at a point where we've been shoving so many chemicals into ourselves to course correct. I'm at that age now where the anecdotal Australian joke has always been that I'm too old for MDMA and I'm too young for Viagra, but I'm certainly heading towards the sort of that end of the scale. But again, it's all drug based, yeah. And I think we've got to ask the question, or really, we've got to see the evidence that that's not working. And what excites me about this is that this is a positive use of technology that seeks to utilize the phenomenal miracle that the human body is, in order to get it working optimally. And I'd love to have Jeff back for a number of things in this show, because we do talk about the elements of scale and growth, and I know Jeff's got a world of experience in this area, so I'd love to do that. Keep the questions coming in, Jeff. They'll come through any of you guys on LinkedIn. If you want to keep firing comments through, I noticed yesterday we had almost twice the number of people, maybe 3 times the number of people watch the video as participated live. So for you non-liveys out there, then that's and we've got some other comments here, Jeff, that you might want to pen back to on your way to the airport, but on LinkedIn. But I do apologize for today's technical hiccups. I think this is a really exciting thing. I wanted to give you guys exposure to, because it's a great example of required innovation, not for novelty's sake. This is stuff that's important, and stuff we're getting wrong. And I have no doubt that the app would refute my chicken burrito last night, but I know, true story, guilty, busy, whatever. But this has been really, really valuable. So keep the questions coming in. And we most definitely, I've worked in the food game. I can't say too much about that. I don't like lawyers. But having worked in the food game, I'm pretty damn convinced that we've got a long way from where we need to be in terms of how we're treating our bodies and what we're putting into it. And further, we've got a phenomenal case study out there with good, hard data and evidence that what we're doing is not working, and that's called America. So, so thanks very much for joining us today on the Let's Grow Show. Thanks so much for your time, Jeff. Have a great flight. I hope it's a good movie. Thanks everyone for listening. We will chat to you soon.